Radio.world.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle-King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities to raise healthy, successful children and youth through services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African-American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org. 1, 2.
What's up, big and little homies? This is Masvita Mara here, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Metro, King County. This is what you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Kind of nonsense conversation we're having here.
The Neon Ghost Show.
The Neon Ghost Show. Right here on Rainier Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Right about now.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world. I'm so tired. I have to do.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Hello once again. Thank you very much, Daniel. We are on the show. Today's show, again, all this month is Women's History Month. And so Rainier Avenue Radio is having special programs and shows dedicated to honoring and celebrating Women's History Month. Before we get started, and I introduce my very special guest, Rhonda Tilford, I wanted to just take a moment and say, let's have a moment of silence on behalf of the victims of the murders in Atlanta. And again, something that's so commonplace in this country, mass shootings. This time, and I firmly believe it was directed at these women because they're Asian. Anyways, please, a moment of silence. All right, thank you, everyone. Well, as I said, I have a very special guest. Rhonda Tilford is a transplanted Ohioan. So with that, I'm just going to mention that, and somebody I have enjoyed having many discussions with and getting to know her, over this brief time period. So let me introduce Rhonda Tilford, my very special guest, in honor of Women's History Month. Rhonda, thank you for coming on. Oh, you look wonderful.
Thank you, John. Steve, glad to be here.
Well, hey, I love it. Finally got you on the air. And the thing is, what I thought was so fascinating is you look like everybody from Seattle who's ever been here. And then you told me, "Oh, I'm from Ohio." I said, "Well, no, that was that's going on a couple of years now, huh?"
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Well, Rhonda, thank you very much. You are one of these, like I said, I love to highlight women who are doing just so many not unusual, but so many distinctive things. Like I said, you've been an entrepreneur, you've been a government contractor. Like I said, you ran a business. You also have done community activism. You're an active member of the community. You did census. You did all of that. You've done. You were a partnership specialist with Census for the Team Washington. You were the star performer. Everybody was measured in what they were doing against what you did. And I got to say thank you because you really put us on the map. Washington was one of the highlighted states for the census in its response, and you had a lot to do with it. And people don't understand that we're only about 20 of us to cover the whole state of Washington to do census, right?
Yeah.
All the millions. Yeah. So you did a great job. Got a chance to get to know this lady and talk to her. So Rhonda, you're from Ohio. You grew up. Now, where did you grow up exactly? I thought it was Cleveland. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
Huh?
it's I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, Cincinnati. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. That's worse than saying Pittsburgh. Oh, I shouldn't, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Oh my God. So anyway, so Cincinnati. Okay. So, and you went to school there, of course, high school, etc., and college in Ohio, right?
yeah. So I graduated from Walnut Hills High School and then to an HBCU. I went to Tennessee State University. I did not graduate there. I actually came back to Ohio and finished my degree at Xavier University in Ohio.
Yeah, Xavier, right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. I think you told me that. And I said, I know what Xavier is. Well, because I'm from Illinois, we're just, Illinois, Michigan, everybody knows everybody. So then I asked you all, I got to meet you, and I said, well, she's a really interesting person. You had this personality. What brought you to Washington State, coming all the way out here to the West, where it's the best, as they say?
You said it, John, not me. Where's the best? I had entered a chapter in my life, in my career, where I had done lots of things and just really was reevaluating how impactful I had been and where I could go and have a greater impact. And so you're right, I've done a lot of different things, but the main reason I came to Seattle was because I was an aspiring techpreneur, and my dream was to have a Black-owned video game company. So that is the original reason I came out here. This, to me, Seattle is the tech mecca, and so that's why I came out here to figure out if I still wanted to do it, John.
Well, I know. Like I said in the introduction, one of the things that I find so interesting, and it still fascinates me, women who are entrepreneurs. And that's one of the things I really wanted to highlight in this show, is that, first of all, women constitute the majority of the population in this country. Is still at around 52%, maybe a little bit more now. But women are the ones least likely to get into business, or least likely to be the head of a major corporation. That's still an issue in this country. But you kind of broke the mold, or as they say, you escaped that because you became an entrepreneur, a contractor with the federal government, correct? And that's unusual too, in and of itself, being a woman, but being a woman of color. So how did that come about? That again is a fascinating story. So
Well, John, it is. I've always been a very avid reader and very passionate about policy. And then what happened is I, come to the point where I wanted to be instrumental in doing some things for our people through some of the policies that have been created. So I ran community programs. I also ran a human service agency back in Ohio. And so it opened me up to just different revenue streams. I became interested, in being a contractor by default. I just was, reading some legislation and found some interesting programs that had to do actually with technology integration and community development and equity. And so that's what got me started. But as you said, it's an uphill climb. It's an uphill climb. Right about now, there are just a lot of unique opportunities that women are open to pursue. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do while I am here in Seattle is encourage other women in particular to open up their own endeavors, whatever it happens to be, especially in light of COVID, and assist them with how they can pivot their strategies, in this challenging market. So the main thing was to be involved where I could set out to do something that could greatly benefit our community. So outreach is what led me to the federal space. The federal government has a lot of contracting opportunities for outreach, and you don't really hear about them, but they're out there.
Right.
They're out there. So
well, yeah, billions of dollars in federal contract in every aspect that you could even imagine. Toilet seat covers, flushing toilets, kitchens. I mean, you look at the list, it's endless. Whatever the federal government needs, they buy or they procure. But what I like is the fact that you have always, when we have talked, you have always stressed the issue of working together. You reached out to me. I mean, here's a lady I knew just a couple of years ago, and from Ohio. We worked together on census. She was a trailblazer there, a trailblazer and a hellraiser too, which is great. But then we end up together working for Mike Bloomberg on his presidential campaign, and it's the same great story. You're out there lighting it up. And I just said to myself, I got to get to know you better, and that's why I appreciate you coming in. And I don't want to get on a personal, endorsement here, but what I know you're trying to now do is do some business development in a serious mode. What are you looking at in terms of that aspect, business development? And I know a little bit. I'm not going to share that. I want you to kind of echo that, would you, or voice that?
Yeah, so one of the things that, there are a lot of discussions and dialogue about, effective ways to dismantle systemic oppression. And so, like I said, a lot of dialogue. And so what I'd like to be involved in is using that data and dialogue to start having different kind of conversations that are more designed to be action oriented and direct entities to purchase in bulk from minority-owned businesses, and a lot of the businesses actually are going to be women-owned businesses. So to focus more on commerce and to focus more on having the companies be prepared to be successful, be prepared to sell, 1,000 units of service, even if you're a fitness coach, selling training, or if you're an attorney, maybe positioning you so you try to do work with either Seattle Public Schools or a larger entity that has the bandwidth to pay you not only what you should be getting paid, but to purchase your goods and services so you can pay yourself. So that is the impetus, is to take brick and mortar companies or a new company and work with them intimately, so that they can be in a position where they can hire at least 5 to 10 employees within a year, maybe 20 employees within 2 years. And so with that said, that's what I'm working on. And it's quite challenging because you need folks to commit and to be ready, and to, the first thing is to visualize. So that's what I want to do, is work with the business owners' minds to get them to see themselves on a greater scale. And just knowing you're just one contract away from being in a certain position, but you have to
Mm-hmm.
do that mentally first, so that you know,
Mm-hmm.
you can attract the type of business. So that's what I'm in. So whether it be being the middle person for someone who's selling, you know, the mask,
Mm-hmm.
or like this project where I'm working now, it's going to be, we're going to need catering, we're going to need construction. So each project is going to vary, but the idea is to work with a small group of
Mm-hmm.
committed companies so that they can learn from each other, get the appropriate mentoring. But at the end of the day, I serve as one of the focal points of contacts for working with the
Right.
corporation, getting them to spend their dollars in an equitable fashion. And I haven't heard that, John. And if it is
I
going,
know.
I'm aware of it. But this is a
Mm-hmm.
very assertive endeavor. This is not going to be, you know, where we just have a couple of meetings. This, we want to work with companies who are willing to spend dollars in bulk within 90 days.
Well, no, that's beautiful. I mean, the thing that and I'm going to pose this question to you. You talk about Black business, Black woman-owned business. One of the things that I often see happening is when people of color get into business, they forget to address it to the community of which they come from. And what I'm saying is, 1.3 or 1.5 trillion dollars is the buying power of Black Americans. We need, I mean, if you and I were to figure out what we wanted to do, we're going to sell to Black people or people of color, because we're talking about trillions of dollars there. But getting started is one of the things that is always hard, you know. And you, like I said, you've been a successful contractor, entrepreneur. What is the one thing you learned when you started your first business? What would be the one thing that you learned that you could pass on to people? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
Yes.
I know you can respond, but
Yes, you are. And you know, that's to be expected. One of the things that I could say was the one thing was, what would I call it? There's a couple of words that run through my mind, but just never giving up.
okay.
Stop for the day or the moment, never giving up. Have it entrenched in your mind, your body, your soul.
Your
That,
focus, yeah, your focus, right? Yeah.
and focus sounds simple, but
Wow.
focus is not. You know, when everybody else is watching the Seahawks game, I might be writing a proposal.
Ah,
When people are doing all sorts of other things, I may be grinding. So as a business owner, embracing the fact that it's your name, it's your brand, you have to do whatever is necessary to deliver the goods. I like
yeah.
to say on time and under budget, or ahead of schedule and under budget. But to really let that marinate to the point where you do what you say you're going to do, even in the worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
That is not an easy feat. You know, that's not easy at all.
So yeah, no, I think I understand. It, you know, you want to get into business, be committed, stay focused. Yeah, it's really actually one thing. Really, it's all in that, enveloped in that whole concept. But you know, and like you said, never give up. Always keep moving. That's funny because you know what you said. You're always focused on what you're doing. I know you. I mean, this woman went out, and when she was at census, and I don't know how many hundreds of contacts did you make, thousands of contacts or something. I mean, impressive, because again, they looked at me and said, well, don't you know the community? Yeah, I said, but man, you know, well, you gotta. And I think the other thing you learned was, which is I'm going to mention, you got to make those contacts in the community. And that's what I really admired about you. And I think that that's also a key to business, right? Making those connections, would you say?
Yes, yes. Yeah, John, making the connections, navigating those connections,
Mm-hmm.
and maximize them. So you are correct. I don't know the exact, I know I had over 600 partners, and the key to me of getting those partners was networking. Like when I would get one partner, then I might network with 5 or 10 other
Mm-hmm.
partners,
Mm-hmm.
or uh, working in resource groups, that maybe already had 50 or 60 members, and just tapping that. It wasn't necessarily easy, but one of the things that made it doable was my belief that I could get it done. My
Mm-hmm.
belief in the, how important the significant is, and then knowing your data. So what we knew was the census, that we were in danger of having one of the. It was just one of the most contentious census ever. And,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it made it a little easier to attract partnerships because there was a vested interest throughout the community.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing that I think that's so amazing. Uh, you're trying to sell a product that the community is apprehensive about because it's census and all of the rhetoric from that previous administration. But I guess it's also trying to do the same thing as an entrepreneur. You're trying to get out there and market, get out there, get to know your community, get to know your clients, get to know your customers. Because one of the things that I see lacking when I work with, I used to do a lot of work with local minority women-owned business, MWDBEs, minority women disadvantaged businesses. Is that having a plan, all of that, but a lot of it is, like you said, staying focused, staying committed to that goal. Don't let anything dissuade you. But one of the big drawbacks is for startup companies, especially companies of color or women companies, is getting the capital get started. Would you give us, give me a short breakdown of how you would look at getting capital? Would it be self-funded, or would you reach out to even people like venture capitalists or no bankers and stuff? How would you approach that?
Well, once again, I think that's an area where I am extraordinarily creative. I think the revenue and the capital, it's tricky. For me, what I did, I realized what I had, which was absolutely nothing, to be honest with you. So what I did was use the strength that I do have, is stand up on the law. So they had a prompt pay new law that has just been enacted. So how I was able to provide for my projects was I was paid within 7 days of submitting an invoice, and I was paid electronically. Uh,
Okay.
so what I encourage small business owners to do is to really know your model, know 3 sets of customers. Your dream customer, who you want to buy 1,000,000 units, or you know, or just your regular. And so that can help you. So if you're doing stuff like, say, if you're doing residential construction, with that type of model, you're going to probably get 25 to 30% down of the cost of the project.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would suggest people to do is to just really understand that you don't have to have everything you need to get started. Just start with that vision, and the cost of doing business, depending on your model, sometimes can be taken out of the very goods or services that are being purchased. Now, with that said, we're in a pandemic. So there some people may qualify for the PPP loan, the
Right.
EIL. Um, it depends on. Now, for me, I've been fortunate, John. I've done a lot of consulting. So with my consulting clients, especially the bigger clients, they will have to pay a retainer.
Mm-hmm.
And so but the thing is, to research, they have a lot of resources, and that's what I want to introduce some of the local people, to resources that actually get paid, and you can get free technical assistance on how to create a financial model that works for you. So once again, that being focused on sustainability and staying in business, can help you when you get started. So you start from day one here, but you're looking to build. So I would just say that's what I would recommend. If you have impeccable credit, there's always lines of credit.
Yeah.
I didn't do that too much. Oh yeah, mainly because the bank rejected me. And I think at that time I had probably an 800 credit score. My average
Wow.
balance, actually, they couldn't give me a justification for why I was rejected, but I can tell you that my financials were impeccable. But luckily, John, I have been mentored by successful Black-owned companies who were millionaires, and they warned me that if I wanted to get substantial funding living in Ohio or most states in the United States, I would have to go to a different state. Uh, and these were folks that were, bringing in $900,000 easily a year and more. So those relationships are key when you're building your model out. Talk to someone who's done what you were trying to do. I think that's the biggest thing, is expanding your circle beyond friends and family. That's fine, but connecting with people who've been where you're trying to go. So that was really helpful for me too.
Well, the key is, like we said at Census, find a trusted partner, trusted person, trusted individual, because that's the key too. Well, I know that there's August is, I believe we talked about this, Black Business Month, correct? The whole month is being dedicated. Yeah. So that's just a few months down the road. I mean, we're thinking it's almost April, May, June, July. We're going into summer. The pandemic, I hopefully, and keep my fingers crossed, I got my second vaccine, so I'm good. I got mine taken care of. But by August, I'm assuming and I'm presuming and I'm praying that we'll be back to practically normal, and we can have a setting like that. It would be great to have a conference, a regional conference, or even a local conference or a national conference. I mean, that's thinking big, but it would be great to highlight, showcase, and talk about Black business. But more than that, I'm with the organization that is into community and economic development. When you say economics, you're talking about business. Gentrification, as you know, in from Cincinnati, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, all the major cities in the country, the black population is being gentrified out, and as well as other people of color. It's happening here in Seattle, Beacon Hill, largely Asian, International District, Central Area, African American. I mean, all of that's happening. So, but August, it would be great if we could really do something to really, as I said, highlight, showcase, and draw attention to Black businesses, and for this reason. So I know you're shaking your head. So it looks like it's going to be a go, right? That's one of the plans, right?
It's a go. It's definitely a go. I'd love to talk to you about what that needs to look like. I do have, there is some interest there. It's just, there's no hesitation on my part. It's just we're in the middle of COVID.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to plan an in-person event like right now.
Right.
With all these uncertainties. But I do want you to know that I'm definitely interested in having something for that month. And really, I'm behind. I was going to start in February. So I have begun to plan it. And so I'd like to talk to you about that a little more.
Okay. Well, and I'm making a commitment. Periodically, if I have, I want to get you on and talk about your progress on that, because I think it's important, because in this administration, all Trump did was give the rich white firms a tax break, the elite of the society. What Biden's talking about is some serious economic development, especially with with communities of color, African American, Asian, etc., Latino. I have no doubt in my mind that was one of his platforms on his presidential run, just like Mike Bloomberg, the Greenwood Initiative. Yeah. It is a fact. Economics can work for the community, especially communities of color, and we have to serve the community. So that's the kind of thing that I'm so interested in. We will be talking about that more in the upcoming months. Hey, I'm talking to Rhonda Tilford, my very special guest on Rainier Avenue Radio's Seattle Here and Now, which is I'm the host of the show, and Rhonda's my special guest. We're going to be wrapping up, but Rhonda, I want to thank you very much.
Sure.
You've given me your time, and like I said, I'm committed to supporting your endeavor about doing not only that conference, but getting the word out. Like I said, we need to recapture our community. We need to bring back the viability of our communities, and that also, the social platform's fine, but we need to talk about serious economic platform. And I think that I keep saying that, having been involved in civil rights is not only social, but it's also economic. I guess you would agree, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, John. And I'm hoping that we could have some type of electronic marketplace that folks can buy off of from Black-owned businesses, one portal or something like that, or at least during that month of August, show those businesses and make sure that they have the appropriate inventory so that they can handle bulk purchases. That definitely is part of the vision for Black Business Month.
Man, let me tell you, buying power, black buying power is 1 trillion, 1.3 or 1.6 trillion. It don't matter. It's in the trillions, more zeros than I can count. Rhonda, thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Rainier Avenue Radio, Seattle Here and Now. Thank you for my guests. Thank you for being there in honor of Women's History Month. I told you folks, she is so unique. She's of an uncommon thread. Rhonda Tilford, thank you very much for being my guest. All right.
Opportunity, John. You have a wonderfully blessed rest of the day.
Okay. We will be talking again in the future. Thank you.
All right.
We're gonna take a break and come back on Seattle Here and Now. All right. Take care.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not using my GPS to navigate the land of 1,000 dances, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Hey, y'all, how you doing? This is that guy Curtis from R&R Live Jam Sessions. I want y'all to tap in with me every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. R&R Live Jam Sessions, baby.
This week's Rainier Avenue Radio Metro League Student Athlete of the Week award goes to Elijah Buchanan, senior running back for the Seattle Prep Panthers. And they put his block. And it's picked up by number 6, Elijah Buchanan, and he's into the end zone, but on a special teams play, Seattle Prep is up 6-0. Elijah scored 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing the football, and he also picked up a block punt and took it to the house as well. Congratulations to our Week 2 Rainier Avenue Radio Metro League Student Athlete of the Week, Elijah Buchanan, senior running back for the Seattle Prep Panthers.
Rainier Avenue Radio presents All Music, All Day Saturday. Music, All Day Saturday. This is Edward Bailey, Bulldog Blues Jazz from the Cabinets.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy.
Start time.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Pearson. Start time.
Saturdays, all music, all day. Reggae hour, kickbox night.
Looking for the perfect beat? Yeah, it's the beat of the month.
Fresh juice, D-Money.
Myself to the right.
This is Cynthia, Northwest Rap Gang.
DJ with DJ. Cat Cheddar. Northwest Rap Gang.
Sergio Laporta's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio and Cook. Go to the phone line. Tell them
See Monster Radio. Oh, Jam. This is your
We're live. Welcome to Mojo Mondays. This is KZMPG Music Media. Caller Goddess for Mojo Mondays.
just like God is inspiration all day and all night Saturday. Rainier Avenue Radio.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue radio.world.
All right. We are back from break. I'm waiting for my second guest, Ms. Shaude Moore. She's been on before, but this is Women's History Month, all month long. Rainier Avenue Radio World will be doing special shows and programs highlighting, celebrating, and honoring women. And so I have a great, like I said, a great opportunity to invite a young lady, Shaude Moore. And I'll let her explain all the things that I can't keep track of everything she's been involved in. I got a chance to meet her a few years ago. She's the head of the Martin Luther King Planning Coalition. I hope I get this right. She gets on me all the time. But we also serve on a board with the Central District Community Preservation Development Authority. She's an administrator with a large multinational corporation. And on top of that, she's furthering her education with an advanced degree on top of everything else she does. So anyways, my guest, I am so proud to have her, and thank you very much, Shaude, for making it on. And I know you're busy. Shaude Moore, thank you very much. Let me introduce you. Let me bring you in for Women's History Month. We're going to honor women who are doing amazing things that you don't even know what's going on, folks, in this community. Those of us who are listening, and thank you for listening and tuning in. Shaude Moore is, again, president of the Martin Luther King Planning Committee. She's also the board secretary for the Community Preservation Development Authority of CPDA, and a bunch of other stuff. So come on in, Shaude. Let's bring you in. Oh, I think you're in. I hope.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Is your camera on? There you are. Hey.
Hi.
we see each other, and it's all positive. We see each other at least three times a week, or 2 or 3 times a week. So
or more.
Or more. Hey, thank you. I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, your studies, etc. So you are, like I said, one of the most energetic, amazing young ladies I know, who's really committed to doing things for herself, but for the community, which is so important to me. And like I said, she's the president. She's been, how many years have you served as president with the ML King Planning Coalition or Planning Committee?
I have been the chair
chair.
Since 2018.
Wow, that's 3 years, man. That's a long time. And you're going to continue, please. Thank you. We had to kind of do some shifting this year because of the pandemic, the march and the rally and stuff, and you handled that very well. But you also are the recently elected, within the last 6 months or so, to the Central District Community Preservation Development Authority. You are the secretary, and you keep me straight and apologize. I got to get you the minutes for the board minutes. I got to apologize. I'm doing this on air, so everybody that's listening is a witness. All 10 countries and all 10 states and many, many more. I will promise to get that to you. But and on top of that, you work for a major multinational corporation. If you want to mention them, that's fine. If not, I'm just going to say that everything we order now that's in our door, at our doorstep, comes from this company, folks. Practically everybody uses them. The other thing is you're working on your advanced degree, which I find that even more amazing. So you're getting a PhD, correct?
That is correct.
And it'll be in not radio broadcast or TV broadcast, but what is your PhD program going to be, about?
So my doctorate is in education.
Okay.
And my focus is in organizational leadership.
Okay. Now, those of you who have not heard, Shaude's been on a couple of times, I believe. Yeah. And at least for sure once. Who did you grow up?
You said, where did I grow up, John?
Yeah.
So I was born in East St. Louis, Illinois. At one point in time, East St. Louis was the most, you talk about, murder, gang violence. It was the murder, right, of the United States. So, was born there, and my mom, single mother, brought me to Seattle when I was 7 years old. and been here ever since.
And you went to high school in?
I am a graduate of Decatur High School in Federal Way, Washington.
Yeah, the Gators, right?
Exactly.
Decatur Gators. Watch out, they'll bite you. Well, you know, I'm from Chicago. We went through East St. Louis years and years ago when we were kids. But all my friends that lived in Chicago said, if you go through East St. Louis, you better be nonstop because you don't want to stop there. And that was true. But, you know, you got great people. Jackie Joyner Kersey and her brother are from East St. Louis. East St. Louis is the reason why East St. Louis is in the hub, because you cross over to Missouri.
The MLK Bridge.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, I have a fond memory of Chicago and very little memory of crossing over that bridge going into East St. Louis on our way west. But hey, that's another story. So you grew up here, basically, from a young age. You went to Decatur High School. You got involved. How did you get involved in politics? I've got pictures of you actually lobbying down in Olympia for bills that are affecting our community. How did that happen? I mean, I kind of know, but what got you interested in doing things in the community that to the same level that you're doing? Folks, this lady is tireless.
So where do you want to start? You want to start with the lobbying that took place last year? Or you want to start with the community stuff? Okay, so since before I became chair of the MLK organizing coalition, you know, back in the day, it wasn't too far back in the day, but we used to have our committee meetings out of the SVI SOIC building on 21st and Jackson. And you know, when the building, you know, got pulled in and, you know, it was pretty much, you know, vacated, our committee was forced to find other hubs in Seattle to conduct our meetings. It was extremely hard. You know, we're extremely thankful to a lot of our community partners and organizations, Langston Hughes being one of them, for allowing us and opening their doors for us to do our work. However, SVI Room 401 was our home. So I got pulled into the space by Eddie Wright Jr. and Hayward Evans, who are two very known, active community members. And it was myself and it was Bobby Alexander, attorney Bobby Alexander, who is the vice chair of the MLK Organizing Coalition. Were asked to come to the Capitol in Washington to pretty much show our face and to express how that building, which is the building that the CDC-PDA now owns, you know, was a historic landmark, and it was a community facility that needed to be, it needed to be reactivated. It needed to be, you know, brought back to life. So considering again that was our home, and that the MLK Organizing Coalition needed to be back in that facility, it was, you know, more than enough, you know, information or push for me and to go to the Capitol and to make that statement, so that folks knew who we were, that we are, you know, two very young community leaders, and that facility was very important to us. And it was great, you know. Bobby and I got to meet, you know, a lot of legislators that were extremely helpful and just, you know, open to, you know, what we had to say. They were friendly. So we're hoping to continue, not only for MLK, but for the CDC-PDA, you know, continue on with that here in the future.
Yeah, and then a shout out to Sharon Tomiko Santos, Eric Pettigrew, and State Senator Rebecca Saldana, as well as others. But those were the three, and Sharon Tomiko for sure sponsored a bill that got funding for the Central District Community Preservation Development Authority organizing body. But the center is the Samuel B. McKinney Community. It's for Center for Community and Economic Development. CDC-PDA is the, I guess you could say, the managing element of that building, you know, that kind of thing, and organizing and putting programs in that serve the community. to address gentrification and the impact it's had. So let's go into, what was your first venture into doing community work? How did that get started? I mean, you're so young, but let's start at that beginning. How did that happen?
John, I couldn't even tell you. To be honest, again, growing up with a single mom, I think it's always really been in my blood and my nature to give back. For me, it's, why do anything else? I mean, I don't think anybody was just put on this earth just to live. You know what I mean? So I really take pride in doing for others. And, I really take pride in servitude. I really take pride in, making an impact. And again, I couldn't even put a timeline on it. I feel like I've been doing this sort of work since, middle school, probably, and it probably, I mean, not as big as it is now, but, you think of, just being, helpful to others and, just being warm and an active listener and kind of just reaching out and even, mentoring other students my age. When I was in middle school, something I'll never forget, I received this award from my history teacher. And the award was titled the Ambassador Award. And what it meant was I stood out as a student that always stood up for what I believed in. I stood out amongst, the other students. I always embraced people that didn't look like me. And, I had a lot of friends that were disadvantaged or had disabilities. And, that was kind of, that they were my home. So, again, that community leadership aspect, I think was, it was poured into me at a very young age. And I think, like I said, I really started to understand what I felt like I was meant to do when I was in 8th grade.
Well, one of the things that we always talk, Eddie and I and Haywood, talking about how one of the drawbacks of the shortcomings of the community, especially communities of color, that there is really never been a concerted effort to develop leaders for whatever reason. That's always been a criticism when I was growing up. But yeah, you are an untypical generation X, Generation Z, whatever you're hanging around with a whole bunch of baby boomers, us old fogies, and yet you have more of a light. Someone lit the fire under you, and you are like I said, indefatigable. You are just tremendous. You're running all of your job, your studies, but also 2 major efforts in the community, in the organization. But the reason why I ask you, and I'm talking to Shaude Moore, ladies and gentlemen, chair of the Martin Luther King, and I say planning coalition, but it's the organizing committee for ML King, as well as the board secretary for the Central District Community Preservation Development Authority on Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio. I didn't put that plug in real quick, but when you interact with older generations, they have a tendency. We have a tendency to be kind of set in our ways, and you know that. And I think you would have to be honest that that's true. We have a tendency to do things the old way. You bring a breath of fresh air. What have you found to be the most difficult thing to deal with when you deal with intergenerations? People like me, older folks like us. And
change.
Okay, well that's thank you very much, because that's what I was trying to prompt you to say. Change in the way of how we communicate, change in the way of our concept. Is that what you're saying?
Well, when I stepped into the leadership role for MLK, that was kind of, the issue is, some of the folks who came before me, not all, but some, were really afraid to, pass the torch. And, nobody's going to be here forever. So,
right.
Years ago, I think that, those leaders then, should have been, pushing more towards to educating and mentoring, young folks like me. And it was, at that time, Larry Gossett, who pulled me in and said,
Yep.
this is what you should be doing. And this is where I see you leading. But it was also others around me that see my capabilities. And, I really wanted it, and I was, I kept watching and listening, especially with what was going on. And, I finally told myself, well, I can do this, and I just had the support of others. But again, change is scary for a lot of people. We do it every day. We're going through changing times right now. And even COVID has been, it's been this epidemic of change, right? We're changing the way we do everything. So that will probably be, that one idea there.
Well, literally we're pushing young people like you to the microphone. Get up and speak. You push you out front.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally what has to happen. Again, one of the drawbacks of our communities of color, all communities of color, is the issue of developing leadership. We are so busy trying to survive in most cases, or trying to deal with issues that impact the community. We fail to understand that we need leadership developed. And so, like I said, we're really proud of you, Bobby, all of the other young people that have been involved. Like I said, us old fogies, I don't mean that, that affectionately. We look at you and we admire you because you know what? You all have more energy and you got more tech savvy than I will ever have, because you forcing us to use that computer and all the implements and all the technology, which I think is good. I mean, people are resistant to change, like you said. And right now we are real proud of the fact that being on the board and the executive member of the board, we've got COVID testing going on through Country Doctor Odessa Brown / Carolyn Down. So Saturday will be drive up and all that kind of stuff. But at the McKinney Center on 21st, 22nd in Jackson, it's actually the whole. If those of you who know the center, that's the tallest building there. So, what do you see yourself? And I'm hoping we can keep you here in this state once you get your advanced degree. But opportunities are here, but there are also great opportunities all across the country with somebody with your experienced background and an advanced degree. You plan to stay here and work on that here? I mean, work with the communities here, or do you have bigger and brighter futures down the road?
Well, Seattle, I think, will always be my hub, as long as I'm engaged in the capacity that I am now. But I love to travel. So, the game plan is to really get out there and, to kind of just, be, front row to a lot of things that are happening, and to network and to meet other, like-minded leaders, young like-minded leaders, to keep it moving forward. In the next couple of years, I hope to pass the torch for MLK, and that's something that we're going to be working on here very soon, with some of, our young interns, because I can't do it forever. I am the first woman leader for that group.
Right.
And I wouldn't say I'm the youngest, because Bobby Alexander was once a co-chair of that coalition as well. Well, when it was formerly a committee. But, I'm 31. In the next, 3-4 years, obviously I'll be done with my doctorate degree, but I hope to run for county council.
Oh, so, very good. Yeah.
And I'll have a lot of people who are already signing up to be a part of the team. So, that is on, my wish list. That's something that, I really feel that in an area where I can make an impact. I feel like I'm already making an impact within Amazon. I was one of the individuals that pushed to have Amazon recognized as a national holiday. As a national holiday, or a day off for all Amazonians in the United States. And this year was our first year doing that. So It's great. Every Amazonian in the U.S. got to have MLK Day off this year. I wrote an executive paper, and it went all the way up to Jeff Bezos, and they granted the request within 3 months.
Wow. So Jeff, my gosh. Well, whoever I see, I see with the new chair of the board of Starbucks, the African American woman, first time ever. But see, this is the thing that, and let's be honest, we celebrate Women's History Month. We've been doing this for the last 30 years, since 1987. This year is very important because it's the 100th anniversary of the right to vote for women in this country, and the theme is women, the women's suffrage, and the theme is valiant women of the vote, refusing to be silent. But more than that, social issues, yes, we need to be active in that. But on the other side, the economic side, I'm still looking at the numbers. How many women, regardless of race, creed, or color, how many women run major corporations in this country? Very few. We talk about equity. We talk about all this wonderful advancement of women. 50% of the law school students in the United States are women. Yet when it comes time to hire, 80% of the law school students that get hired across the country are majority white males, majority males for sure. These are inequities. These are things. These are challenges that are going to be something that you're going to have to overcome. Do you feel those are important things to deal with? I mean, challenges. Do you feel that you've been blocked, that there's a glass ceiling for you, and that what is your feeling on that?
I felt blocked. Do I feel like it now? No.
Okay.
I think I say that because there's a lot of women that are already paving the way, and they're opening up those doorways for women, young women like me, to, come in and have a seat at the table. I think the past year has been real instrumental in that. I think now more than ever, I see Black women, but women, of color, having more of a voice and having more of, a leadership or an executive position, in some of these major companies. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful,
Yeah, but yet and still, I know we just did a moment of silence for the victims of the shooting in Atlanta.
Yes.
Most of whom were Asian. The significant number were women. See, again, this is the issue. And Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, a mayor of Atlanta, African American woman, said it precisely. And as well as Marilyn Strickland, our congressperson from Tacoma, said it quite succinctly. When you couple attacks against women and women of color, it's indisputable. Women are targets, and race is an issue. So the two go hand in hand. And when you look at the numbers of incidents, I mean, 1 in 3 women are going to be sexually harassed. Look what's happening to Governor Cuomo. 1 in 3 women are going to be harassed in this country. 1 in 4 women on a college campus sometime in their 4 years there will be sexually assaulted. 98% of the sexual assaults that occur in this country or more are committed by men. We have got to deal with these issues. Women in visible positions is the most important thing we can see. Just like, like I said, these are important visual symbols that have to be made. But we have a long way to go, to me. But you're a shining example of what young people can do, a young African-American woman can do, the commitment and your passion. I mean, Shaude, I've never really said this. I want to say it publicly, I really admire you. I mean, I really do. I think you are going to go great. Look at that face, remember that face, and remember that name, folks, because she's headed for greater things. And I mean that sincerely. So we're going to, and you don't have to say, I want to give you that plug. And I appreciate you not telling me to shut up. But Shaude, any last comment? We got about a minute to go. Anything you want to share on this Women's History Month show? Anything out there to the women out there?
I love the fact that you had mentioned that you did a moment of silence for, the victims in Atlanta. Oppression impacts us all. I think, the pandemic, these phobias, the racism, it's ongoing, unfortunately, right? And I don't think we ever really see a decline, but we just need to do our part and continue to educate and to support, our brothers and sisters, so we can move forward. I mean, it's a learning curve, but the fight is not over. We'll continue to get there.
Thank you very much. Hey, you're listening to Seattle Here and Now, Rainier Avenue Radio with my very special guest, Shaude Moore. Hey, catch us on the replay. Coming up is Metro Sports Weekly with Masvita and Pat. Hey, stay tuned to Metro Sports. Go to our site, www.rainieravenueradio.world. Shaude, thank you very much. I know you're busy, as they say, busy bee. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you, okay? Thank you.
John.
Have a great evening. We are signing off. Thank you.
RainierAvenueRadio.world is your